1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All right.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new edition of Star Wars Reactions. We got a great show lined up for you tonight, and we are going to have some fun discussing the Disney Gallery Star Wars The Mandalorian episode where they looked at that spectacular season 2 finale, and it's just going to be fun. It's going to be great. So let's get this party started. Joining me is the Mandalorian to my Grogu, the one, the only, the David Motters. David, brother, what's up?
Hey, brother. Just, looking forward to recording with you again, ready to react. And that is the perfect metaphor, example, comparison, considering what we're covering. And I just watched it for a third time tonight before we recorded.
Excellent. Yes, it was going to be great to discuss that. And for the record, my name is Aaron Harris, because I did forget to mention that. I was just so excited to get David on the line with us that I just forgot who I was. So how's everything been going with you, brother?
Well, I was just going to say Carabas, but
Carabas.
People have come to probably expect that from you and me, whether it's at the beginning, the middle, or end of our recordings. There's going to be a Carabas. Pretty good over here. We're into September and fully into school. And Lena started ballet tonight, and Eli will be starting basketball pretty soon. But pretty good. Kind of getting into that regular routine of school again with the kids. How about you, buddy?
Pretty much the same, my friend. We're doing good, just staying busy. Enjoyed the long holiday weekend. We're actually recording this on Tuesday, the 7th. Yes, the 7th, right? Today's 7th? Yeah. Yep. Sorry, my map. 5 different places. So, but yeah, it's been a good week. Kids are doing good. Every youngest is playing soccer. My oldest starts ballet next week. And things are just, settling down for the year. So,
right.
So we'll see what happens and see how it goes. Hopefully better than the last 2. So
that's right. August was rough, and we said that, but we finished strong with having Jason Fry on, and then you and I had some fun with random chatter. I really enjoyed that, and looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Great discussion on this documentary, I would to put it lightly. But let's go ahead and take a look real quick at the news. We haven't really missed much. There's been literally nothing going on this past week. It's been very quiet. Everybody's kind of getting ready for Visions coming up in 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks till Visions comes out. Is it 22nd?
Yep, September 22nd. Yeah.
So 2 weeks till Visions come out. So everybody's kind of just waiting for that. So it's been pretty quiet on the news front, but we did get a little piece of news today. Of course, we do. It was announced, and we've known it's been coming in October. The Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales special. The Halloween themed show, and today we got the trailer for it. And actually, I will say this: I really, before watching the trailer, I really had no interest in seeing this. To be perfectly honest, Halloween's just not my thing, and let's be honest, the Lego stuff sometimes can be a little cheesy. But
no.
It is. I know.
Yeah.
I'll probably get grilled for that, but it is. So I really wasn't, it probably was something I would watch eventually, but I wasn't going to, rush to release day and immediately watch it type deal. But after watching the trailer, this really looks interesting. It looks like it's going to be fun. There's definitely going to be some campy humor in it. You can tell that. But it's going to be, it looked entertaining. So
Yeah.
I know you didn't watch it till right before we recorded. You didn't even know it released. What did you think of the trailer?
Oh, it's fun. It looks really good. And I was trying to remember who the Hutt is, because I believe you and I covered that Hutt. It sounds like the same voice in Resistance, right? When we covered Star Wars Resistance. I
don't think it's the same Hutt. I think it's the same voice though. I think this is actually the same Hutt from that they used in Freemakers.
Okay.
I'm actually looking that up right now.
Because I really like that Hutt. And the one part where they're inside the castle and like lightning, he goes, was that lightning inside?
Yeah.
Well,
Grabala the Hutt was the name in Freemakers. So, and yes, it is the same actor. It's Dana Snyder. Will be voicing Grabala the Hutt for Terrifying Tales.
Nice. I think that might be my favorite part. Is him. I've enjoyed him. I watched some Freemakers, not all of it, but some, and I really like that particular Hutt. But it looks fun. I'm definitely going to watch it. I think I mentioned to you that several of the families here that we hang out with and go camping with, etc. We showed this. We showed the Christmas holiday special, Lego Star Wars holiday special last year when that came out, and so I think we'll get all the kids and watch it. We actually watched the original Star Wars holiday special before the Lego holiday special, and we didn't have the kids.
I'm sorry.
I know. Oh my gosh. It was so bad. The number of people, they just dwindled. There was 3 of us left at the end and then of course, then we called all the kids out, all the parents, and had a lot of fun with the Lego Star Wars holiday special, which the kids just ate it up. And even our teenage boys, they grew up on Star Wars, so they got all the jokes. So they're over there laughing too. So it was real fun. And I hope this is kind of the same thing.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. And I think that's why I'm kind of looking forward to it. It actually had, it had, I don't know, it just felt funny. Especially, it looks like it's going to be themed around Poe and BB-8. Based on the trailer, Poe and BB-8 are going to play a pivotal role in it, and it'll be fun. I don't know. I think it's just going to be entertaining, to say the least, because especially I think with Grabala's, and this is no spoilers. This is just stuff that they shared in the trailer. So if you watch the trailer, you've seen it. If you haven't watched the trailer, spoiler alert. I think that I honestly think that they're even taking a few little shots at Disney parks, I should say, with the Grabala's Vader's Castle Resort that he's got set up with the animatronic Vader telling people to go to the shop, and then it breaks down. Which, Disney's been having some issues since they've reopened with stuff just breaking down. So,
particularly Rise of the Resistance had some.
Exactly. So it'd be, I think there's some they're not holding back in that regards. Their shots are fired. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, when you can make fun of yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's always, and plus it's always better to make fun of yourself before somebody else does, because then the burn isn't as harsh. So
right, here's Disney saying, hey, we recognize it, we'll just have a good laugh about it and move on. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so look for that. That will come to Disney Plus starting October 1st. And of course, you can see the trailer. We will have it shared on our social media, so you'll be able to see it there as well. Okay. Perfect. So with that, like I said, slow news week. So that's all the news. So let's just go ahead and take a look at move into our review. We got a great review. This is these Disney Gallery episodes have been just incredible. This particular one we're looking at, Disney Gallery Star Wars The Mandalorian, making of the season 2 finale, was released on August 25th of 2021. And this episode is simple. It just gives a look behind the scenes of that final episode of season 2, which was absolutely spectacular and ushered in the return of young Luke Skywalker. So this is like post Return of the Jedi Luke. So that was fun that they did this, because there was a lot of questions on how they made this work and everything. And it was nice to see them just pull back the curtain there. Initial reactions, David, when you first sat down and took a gander at this episode, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things I thought about was, again, George Lucas and Lucasfilm they're the pioneers in behind the scenes documentaries, right? In addition to all the other pioneering work they've done over so many years. So this Disney Gallery Mandalorian behind the scenes show covering season 1 and 2. You and I did coverage of the season 1 behind the scenes gallery, Disney Gallery The Mandalorian, and then from season 2 here. And it's just a continuation of something I've devoured and enjoyed for years with Star Wars, is all the behind the scenes documentaries. So for me, it's really easy to say that I absolutely love this episode on the making of the season 2 finale. For me, I wish it had gone longer. I was telling a few friends here who hadn't seen it, I said, look, it says like 41, 42 minutes, but it's really about 35 minutes. And any of the listeners, Star Wars fans, know that it's relatively short. I watched it again tonight because I knew you and I were recording a little bit later. I'm like, let me do it again. I enjoy it. I love it. I wished it was longer. I would take 2 hours of it. That's me. And I wanted them to show more of the fight choreography between Luke and the Dark Troopers. Obviously this was really focused on bringing Luke back, bringing Mark Hamill back, bringing Luke back, post Return of the Jedi, like you said. So the focus was on that. Watching it for the third time, I did notice that they did show a little bit more. They showed obviously Mark Hamill. They showed Max. Can't remember his last name. The stand-in for Mark Hamill, who was his size back at that time, and they also showed the guy. You could tell he's the one who actually did the swordsmanship during those scenes. I think primarily, you could see him standing next to Max, and with both of them with their hoods down. So that for me is the only part. Like, I'd like to see more of that. And I actually noticed they did show quite a bit of it, like that guy coming in, doing the lightsaber moves. There's no lasers being fired. Those will be added later. But I would really like to see a breakdown of that. Pop this thing up to, an hour and a half long and show me more of that. And, but even without that, I just love it.
Very good. Very good. And the actor you're trying to remember is Max Lloyd Jones.
Thank you.
Max Lloyd Jones. He was the double for Skywalker.
Yep.
For me, I'm going to clarify the word just escaped my mouth. I'm going to state this first before I go any further. Is, I have not actually watched The Mandalorian since we reviewed it back in December. We reviewed the finale. Loved it then. I just had so much other stuff going on. I have not rewatched any of The Mandalorian. But watching this episode of Gallery and seeing all the behind the scenes and all the secrecy and all the work that went into it, it gave me the same warm feelings I had when watching The Mandalorian. It just felt good, to the point that it's made me want to watch The Mandalorian again, which I started today. It made it 4 episodes into the first season. So it's, it definitely has a great warm vibe to it. I loved the interviews with Mark and with John and Dave, talking about the return, and with Peyton Reed too. I mean, man, you talk about weight of the world on his shoulders, bringing Mark Hamill back in. It was great. And one thing I loved about this, and it's probably my biggest takeaway, the biggest thing that jumped out at me, was listening to everybody and realizing how big of a fan everybody on this crew is of Star Wars and of Mark Hamill. And, we knew from season 1 that they were all big Star Wars fans. It was a given. That was well demonstrated by the way the episodes were made and everything. But this really just hammered that point back home, that this is not just a job for them. This is a love of fandom for them. They love what they're doing. They love what they're working on. They love the story and they love the characters. And that really just kind of really jumped out at me for this. So it was a nice, comforting reminder that the series is in the hands of huge fans like us. So, yeah. So that was pretty much my initial reactions there. So let's jump right into it. Bringing the big thing about this episode and what they really focused on pretty much for this entire episode was bringing Luke Skywalker back to life. Not really, because we know Mark Hamill's old and is older. He's got years on him. He's not the same young buck he was when Return of the Jedi came out, and this is only set a few years after that. So they had to bring that young Luke back to life, and they spent a lot of time showing how they did that, which was mind-boggling. And I think it was even something we brought up when we reviewed the original, the finale when it originally aired, was we wonder how exactly they did that, because there are multiple ways they do that, and they even discuss the multiple ways they could have done it. So let's just jump right into it. I really enjoyed the seeing Mark and hearing the story of how they presented him with the idea of it, how they invited him down to the set just to take a peek around and see the Mandalorian. So he drove out and took a look, and then while he was there, he was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're thinking about bringing you back." Okay. it just that, see how he would react, gauge his interest, and it apparently went really well. So what were your thoughts on when they were talking about how they brought Mark on board for this, David?
Yeah, they did it slow but sure, right? They just watching it again tonight, like you said, they invited him to come down. They showed him quite a bit of stuff, like Jon Favreau said, showed him Grogu and all that, showed him a bunch of stuff before season 1 even premiered. And they invited him to be in a voice, right? And he ends up doing the voice of that droid in the cantina. And Mark says in the documentary, what does he say? That should have been a sign right there that they were slowly greasing the skids to ask him, to do more. But I think they did it the right way, did it slowly but surely. And I thought it was really neat when Peyton Reed described going with John up to Mark Hamill's home. They're sitting there with Mark's wife. Is it Mary Lou? Right? Is it Mary Lou? Mary Lou Hamill? And they're talking to her while he's reading the script. And of course, they're nervous about whether he's going to do it or not. And when he agreed, it was pretty exciting there. Not pretty, it was extremely exciting for Favreau and for Peyton Reed. And I thought it was neat to see those videos where they brought the outfit that he would wear and brought, baby Grogu there. And that was just really cool. And he says, I need to be back in these episodes because I'm the only one with any experience with this species. It's so good. He's so good. I'm like, that is true, man. He's really had a lot of screen time with Yoda and now Grogu. So very cool to see how they did it and that he was willing to do it.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I loved that was Peyton Reed when he was talking to Peyton Reed and he got the script and he read through the script. He's like, man, this is going to be great. And he's like, Plo Koon, and the script didn't have Luke's name in it because they wanted to keep it secret. So they had Plo Koon listed as the Jedi that would return. And Peyton's like, I remember going to John and being like, so about Plo Koon, what do you know? How are we going to do this? What's the story? And he's like, yeah, all right, come walk with me for a minute. He walked him off to the side where nobody could hear him. He goes, yeah, we're not bringing Plo Koon back. It's going to be Luke. Peyton's like, and Peyton's reaction was just priceless. He's like, I was stunned.
Yeah.
You're bringing back that Luke?
Yeah. He says, we're bringing back the guy. And Jon Favreau says, we're bringing back the guy.
Bringing back the guy. So it was really fun to hear that's how it was even revealed to the director of the episode. He wasn't told everything. And I love how secretive they were. They even, for their test shots and stuff, they had Plo Koon's head digitally mastered over Luke's face. Hilarious. And they show you some of that video in this episode too. And Filoni, oh my Lord. This had, and of course, after watching it, I'm like, of course it was Filoni's idea to use Plo Koon. And because that's, of course, his favorite Jedi. And he even makes this statement. He goes, everybody knows Plo Koon's my favorite Jedi. So, it was just natural. If it leaked out, oh, yeah, of course, Plo Koon. It's Dave. He loves Plo Koon. It's just, it just to see him grinning ear to ear as he's saying that, knowing he just pulled a big one on everybody.
Yeah. Well, and the first time I heard Plo Koon was, I think it was in December after you and I covered that last episode, hearing Katie Sackhoff say that they were there filming and Mark Hamill and Max, Luke stand-in there, they filmed that when they were filming, they had the rest of the crew out in Simi Valley filming the Boba Fett episode. Yep. So Katie Sackhoff and the rest of the crew didn't know. And she said, we were told it was a Jedi Master Plo Koon. And I remember her specifically say, of course she could say that, because the episode had aired. Yeah. So that was the first time I heard that they had used Plo Koon to be the cover, the red herring, right? So. Exactly. And I one of the things that was revealed in this episode that I loved too was hearing, of course, we had been dealing with the technology, is the fact that we got to find out how they de-aged per se, and that's not really what they did, but how we got the younger Luke's voice for this episode. Because, like you said, Mark's,
Mark's up there in years now. There's no nice way to say that. He's getting up there. He's getting old. We love you, Mark. But so it was interesting to see how they did, how they talked about that, it was Mark Hamill's voice, but it was a synthesized Mark Hamill voice. They said they used something called a respeecher, which is basically what they did is they grabbed any old audio of Mark and plugged it into this computer. They found an old audio book that he had narrated when he was younger. They used the old ADR recordings, which of course there are additional dialogue recordings that they will record after a movie is filmed. And they had a bunch of those they had found from Mark from A New Hope and Return of the Jedi and Empire. And they also, of course, Mark was in the Star Wars audio drama, radio dramas. So they took all those recordings, plugged that in there, and were able to generate speech, a young Luke speech. And I just found that completely fascinating.
Oh, it's incredible. That's why you see Jon Favreau. And really this documentary, they actually took time to discuss the issue of, how they did his voice. And because I think back when you and I covered that final episode in December, I was like, how did they do that? Because he doesn't sound like that now. And it's amazing. And then what I thought you were going to mention a minute ago is Peyton Reed had worked with the de-aging of Michael Douglas, with Lawrence Fishburne, and with who plays Michael Douglas's wife in Ant-Man and Wasp? Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah. And so I remember watching those and thought, man, and of course we saw them do it with, our favorite Mace Windu, doing it with Samuel L. Jackson. They de-aged him in Captain Marvel. Looking at that going, how did they do it? Because it does look slightly different than how they did Tarkin in 2016's Rogue One. So, obviously Favreau does he does a spot there of saying, hey, look, we need to be alert to this and how it can be used for good or bad, because ultimately he said this technology is going to get to the point where, look, they could make a whole movie with a young Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi. Mark Hamill is not in it at all. Mm-hmm. They have some young actor, and he goes through and does all the fight scenes and does this and that and is talking to all the characters, and they've got Mark Hamill's voice and they've got his face, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, when did they film that? Back like 1984, 85? No, they just made it in 2025. Oh my gosh. So they're going to be able to do it, and you're not going to know the difference with voice or with their faces. It's a scary thing. It's cool, but it's also a scary thing. And I'm glad they talked about it. They even had, if you remember, Aaron, they had John Knoll talking about it too, that from an ILM perspective, they really think about the ethics involved. And I remember the discussion about this back when they asked Carrie Fisher for permission, and give her approval to putting her in at the end there, like what she looked like back, in A New Hope. And she was fine with it. Carrie Fisher was. But I remember the conversation starting then, because that wasn't her. That was another actress with the, dots on her face. So it's cool. But they also, I'm glad that they did it in this documentary, talked about, hey, let's be alert to this and make sure this doesn't get too crazy.
Well, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh.
So I'm sorry, I had to throw a Spider-Man quote in there. But yeah, it's exactly true though. And I'm glad that was a great discussion, and I'm glad they included that in there. Wrestling with the talking about the ethics, and I think Jon Favreau said saying, yeah, we're using this to have fun right now, but the moral implications of what could happen is not cool.
Well, I thought of an example as I was watching it tonight, Aaron, before you and I got on. I thought all you need is some hacker. I don't care if you're from America, overseas, somebody who's a computer genius and decides, you know what, I'm going to do a video of Putin. I'll do a video of Biden, one or both. I can match their voices, and I can control every TV screen and computer screen because I'm a computer genius. And I'm going to have Putin say, we're declaring nuclear war on America. And then you see Biden respond, and neither one are talking. It's not them, physically or voice-wise. And I was just thinking to myself, you want to talk about a terrorist act of massive proportions. And that's why I think you saw them bring this up in the documentary, because that was the first thing I thought about, was some deranged person doing this. And I can't imagine the ramifications, Aaron.
Oh, I don't even want to.
Oh.
I don't even want to imagine. So that it definitely is something that needed to be discussed, and I'm glad they did, because you're exactly right. All it takes is one person to get the idea. So
That's right.
So moving on to a positive note. Actually, you know what? We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll start off with that positive note. How about that, Dave?
Nice.
Perfect. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here, and we are discussing Disney Gallery, Star Wars, The Mandalorian, the episode talking about the season 2 finale. And of course, as I said, when we came back from the break, I was going to bring us up on a good note, on a happy note, after being all serious about the ethics involved in the de-aging, deep fake facing everything for Luke. It was really cool to hear Dave and John talking about Mark's day on the set and everything, and Dave really talking to John about it, about how when they were talking about it, the idea is like, we'll use Luke, it'll be great, blah blah blah. And Dave going, well, you realize, if you're using Luke, you get R2 as well. And they're talking about how Dave's just goes on about how you could tell this was a guy, that Favreau was a guy who loved these characters from when he was a kid. He loved R2 because as soon as I said R2, his demeanor changed, his face lit up. It was like R2. It was just like a completely different discussion at that point. And Favreau, he said, when R2 came rolling up behind Luke at that scene in the bridge, John was sitting there, goes, honestly, that is the one time I actually lost it. I was tearing up. And during the documentary, he's like, I'm even tearing up now. Just the raw emotion of pure fans in that episode was just what they were going through was just incredible.
Yeah. Well, in this, this speaks to something that I wanted to say, which is, looking at the return of Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi. And it's something that we all wanted to see. You hear it in this documentary. And, something that I thought about, Aaron, was when you and I recorded in December of 2019, the Coffee with Kenobi roundtable discussion for The Rise of Skywalker. When we did that, you and I were what were we, Rebels reactions at that time? I think
for Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, no.
Rise of Skywalker. No, it was Resistance.
We were Resistance reactions at that time. Okay, a lot of reactions here. So I remember we went around and talked about our thoughts, and did we like it? Did we not? And I talked about the feels that you mentioned earlier in your initial remarks, and it gave me the feels, and there was that nostalgia feeling. In fact, Dan covers it in just last week, if people want to check it out, I'd encourage them to do it. It was an excellent episode of Coffee with Kenobi on nostalgia that people get from Star Wars. And Dave Filoni, again, listening to it tonight, he says, fundamentally, that's what we should get from Star Wars, is to feel good. And I felt good after watching The Rise of Skywalker because the good guys won. I need that. Now, if you want to look at it from a critical perspective, and now time has passed, I'd say The Force Awakens is the best of those three. Some people would say The Last Jedi, but for me, I just loved that feeling that I had in 1977 when Luke blew up the Death Star. The good guys won. There's no moral ambiguity. The good guys won. And at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, you've got Rey, and then Ben is back, and Lando and Poe and Finn, and the good guys win. And I need that good feeling that Dave Filoni talked about. I look to Star Wars for that. People look in a lot of different places to feel better and escape reality. And so, just like Jon Favreau, like you said, Aaron, to see him tear up, that means a lot. And that's how I feel. And something I thought about too with The Rise of Skywalker is I remember watching it with you and Jason in December of 19. And just to be able to watch that with you and Jason and my family was there, I was just over the moon. And then it went into 2020, right? And I started thinking to myself, here we are, over 40 years later, right? 2017 was the 40th anniversary, right? So what are we looking at? 43 years? Yeah, in 2020 it was 43 years, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, again, after seeing it with you and Jason, I saw it one more time in the theater in January of 2020 before everything hit the fan with COVID. And I remember sitting there, Aaron, and I know I'm being long-winded, but this is really, again, piggybacking off what you saw in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and even what Filoni said, he's looking at all the staff and the crew staring at Mark Hamill. Well, I'm sitting in a movie theater in January of 2020, and I'm looking at the big screen, and I see Carrie Fisher, I see Harrison Ford, I see Mark Hamill, and of course I see Billy D. Williams, right? And then there's Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, and there's R2-D2. Now Kenny Baker isn't there, but I'm thinking to myself, how many people in American history can say, hey, 43 years later, I'm watching my heroes on the silver screen again? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, man. I would like to know the examples of that. We had, Star Trek come back in 1979, and Shatner and all those guys did their stuff. And so that was quite a bit of distance from when they originally premiered in 66.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't happen a whole lot. And I thought, how fortunate I am to be able to see my heroes as a kid, as an adolescent, and now as a grown man. And that's what you're seeing in Favreau. He's a few years older than I am. And his response is my response. I'm in tears that I can be there and see my heroes on the big screen 43 years later. It's awesome, man. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. It's a rare opportunity to see those types of characters being played for so long. There's very few franchises that can say they have that kind of longevity. I think the Star Trek still, I think Spock was the longest running one. He was from the original series, and then he was in the J.J. Abrams remake. So I think he had a little bit longer there stint playing there, but it's rare to see that. It's one comparison I'll make is like with Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. Nobody wants to see somebody else play Wolverine. They just want Hugh Jackman. And it'd be like, we don't want to see anybody else playing Luke Skywalker. We want Mark. We didn't. I mean, but at the same point, recasting will eventually happen. I remember when they announced the Solo movie, and we were getting oh gosh, I just blanked his name.
Alden, right?
Yes, Alden. It was going to be playing Han, and I was like, man, this just isn't right. The dude is still alive. This is like a project you would do after people pass. You don't want to. You don't recast them like that, especially with a saga like this. And it wound up being wonderful. I loved Solo. It's one of my favorite from the Disney movies that have come out.
Oh, agreed. But to piggyback off what you're saying, not only do you do this later, but you don't do it after he just dies in The Force Awakens. Very confusing timing. Very confusing timing for the major fans, not for you and me or the people listening to this podcast. But yes, I felt bad because I love Ron Howard's work on it. Alden, I'm blanking on Kira, the actress. It's
Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke and Donald Glover, who played. I just thought they did a great job, and I really enjoyed it. However, I get coming after The Last Jedi and coming after, Harrison Ford dying on screen and The Force Awakens. I'm just like, timing wise. Wait, to you and I, most fans. Wait, Aaron Dave didn't Han just die? Wait, how's he younger? Oh, geez.
Yeah,
that's not easy to do. But it's well, let me give you one more thing. Harrison Ford is, I think, currently filming Indiana Jones 5 in England. Right? It had a delay, but when he was asked, what do you think about someone else playing Indiana Jones? He's like, I'm Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. Now, my understanding is they're going to do de-aging on him, right? So again, more data to back you up. That, I mean, again, I love Alden, but if you want to do it, I mean, you got Harrison Ford. Get the guy, right? Are we getting the guy, Mark Hamill? Yes, we're getting the guy. Are we doing Han Solo? Are we getting the guy? Yes, we're getting the guy.
Well, exactly. Well, but with since we're going into that discussion, since you brought it up, I think the difference with Star Wars and Indiana is the fact that Harrison, there was really no love lost for the character of Han Solo for Harrison. He wanted Harrison to die in Empire. He wanted Solo to die in Empire Strikes Back. So the fact that he lived and they really had to beg him to come back for Return of the Jedi. So I think it's no big deal. But Indiana Jones has been almost like a baby to him. He loves playing Indiana Jones. So I think at that point there would be more of a negative connotation to recast him while he's still wanting to play him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good point, buddy. Good point.
But either way, I personally have to say I can't wait for Indy 5. I'm looking forward to that. And I know Dan is probably going to scream when he hears me say this. I just hope it is better than Crystal Skull.
That's his favorite.
I know that's sorry, buddy. But it's the truth. It is. Yeah. It was good. But it's still my least favorite of the four. But
I'm with you as well. My favorite is Raiders, and I think Oates will be.
Raiders, then Raiders, and then
Last Crusade,
then Temple of Doom. Then because I have to include it on the list, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That's my order as well. That's my exact order. Yes.
So, as of right now, I'm willing to put the unmade episode 5 above Crystal Skull right now.
You're going to be getting some text from Dan.
I probably will. Love you, buddy.
We love you, Dan.
Anyway. So, let's move on there. One thing that this episode really, it mentioned it in passing, but it really didn't get into it as much as I would have liked, is the music for the episode. It was mentioned in passing, I would say, with how I think it was John Favreau who mentioned it, about how it helps set the mood for the episode, how all through the episode and through the hacking of the Dark Troopers, we had Ludwig's themes just blasting through. But then as soon as he gets to the bridge and that cowl comes down, pretty much it switches to John Williams themes, which I did notice during the viewing of the original episode. But I would have loved to have gotten more of that, because to me the music is unmatched. In Star Wars. Star Wars always has some of the best soundtracks out there, whether it's the John Williams ones, whether it's Michael Giacchino's Rogue One soundtrack, or even any of the Kevin Kiner soundtracks to Rebels or Clone Wars or Bad Batch. I mean, these are soundtracks that are unmatched. John Powell's for Solo. They're phenomenal soundtracks, well deserving of respect. And I think right here, Ludwig is right up there with them. And I wish they would have discussed it more.
Right. Just like, absolutely. Bop this up to 2 hours, or even I would argue 2.5 hours. Talk about the music. Again, I'd mentioned, show me more of the fight choreography. They showed some. They showed Peyton Reed directing that a bit and wanting to crunch up one of the Dark Troopers and stuff like that. But yeah, those are, some of the things I'd like to see. And maybe, a little bit more of an interview with Katie Sackhoff or Ming-Na Wen, Giancarlo Esposito, about their views and what they were thinking as they were filming that final episode. Did they all think it was Plo Koon? Did they not? You could do 2.5 hours on this easily.
Very easily. So, but overall, great episode. I loved the behind the scenes stuff. It's one of my favorite things that they do with Star Wars, whether it's the making of books or the art of books or even these Disney Gallery episodes. They are just so much fun and so informative.
Yeah.
All right. So that pretty much wraps up our review of the episode. We're going to go into our final reactions. We're not, because this is a documentary talking about behind the scenes stuff, we're not going to grade it.
Yeah.
No grade is necessary because we're not grading the work. It's a documentary telling us how they did the work. But let's go ahead and jump in to our final reactions. I'm rewinding things on us there, David. Carabast. Why don't you kick us off, buddy? What were your final reactions to this episode?
Oh, sure. This episode of Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, and its specific focus on the season 2 finale was wonderful. I mentioned it before. I look to Star Wars to help me escape reality and to feel good. Again, like Filoni stated during this documentary. This episode of the documentary, as well as the actual Mandalorian episode, right? We were talking about that. It made me feel good. The season 2 finale and this documentary. I would say Favreau and Filoni, they delivered big time. And again, things can be messed up very quickly, but they delivered. And even Peyton Reed talks about the pressure to deliver, and they did. I want more behind the scenes episodes. I'm looking forward to more of these on Disney Plus after season 3 ends, I'm guessing. And I would just like it to be more. They did what? I think they did 8 for season 1. They did 2 here for season 2. So I would love for that to be more, So I would just like to see more of these.
I definitely agree. I think we do need more of these. Like the season 1 Disney Gallery, for me, this was just simply excellent. The behind the scenes footage was awesome. And hearing the passion that all these crew members have from the top to the very bottom was just incredibly rewarding. And it was just incredible to hear. I never thought a behind the scenes documentary would invoke the same emotions I had when I first saw the episode live on TV. But it did. I mean, the chills, the awe, the tears, they all came flooding back. And it just was just incredible, incredibly well done. Well done indeed. So, all right. Well, that wraps up our review of the season 2 finale episode of Disney Gallery. Up next, I believe David has an all-new psychology corner for us.
I do, brother. I'd had this prepared a few weeks back, but everything got kind of moved around a little bit when we were trying to wrap up our coverage of season 1, the inaugural season of the Bad Batch. And so I wanted to actually share this. I want to come back around. It's not an extensively long psychology corner, pretty short here, but just wanted to be a teaching moment and something for our listeners to think about. But let's go back to the Bad Batch episode, Return to Kamino, right? Now, the last one was Kamino Lost, right? It was a 2-part season finale. But I'm talking specifically Return to Kamino. And I'm going back to that episode because it provided a great opportunity to discuss one of the most common psychological defense mechanisms that people have used for centuries. Okay? To explain, let me start with this question, right? If Crosshair's chip has been removed, right, and I think it's been confirmed by Jennifer Corbett and Brad Robb, the writers and executive producers of it. Why does he still want to be a part of the Empire? Right? We thought, well, get that chip out and he'll be back with the Bad Batch, right? So again, if the chip is removed, and it is, why does he still want to be a part of the Empire? And another question is why does he want the Bad Batch to join him as well? So when I was watching that episode, I immediately thought about Dr. Sigmund Freud, right? Dr. Freud died in 1939 of cancer, but prior to that, late 1800s or early 1900s, he's developing his theory of psychoanalysis as well as defense mechanisms. And he has a number of different defense mechanisms, and his work on those is excellent. Specifically, the one I thought about was what's called identification with the aggressor. Another way to say this is, if you can't beat him, join him, right? It's what, Aaron has seen, I have seen, everybody listening has seen people join gangs. Well, why do they do that? Well, if you're getting tired of beating up, if you can't beat them, join them. It's a major reason. It's a protection. I want to feel safe. I'm sick of getting beaten up. I'm sick of not feeling safe. So in this particular episode, Return to Kamino, that I'm referencing, that's why I think Crosshair tells Hunter that he still doesn't see the bigger picture. That is, the Empire isn't going anywhere. The Empire, they are the power broker. If you can't beat them, Crosshair's like, you can't beat these guys. Now, we have the advantage of knowing that that's actually true, right? For the next 2 decades, right? Crosshair doesn't know it. I mean, he can see it. He doesn't know for 100% fact, all of us do, that Crosshair is actually, he's right. They will be the power broker for about 2 decades until Luke destroys that first Death Star, even, has to destroy the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. So clearly, again, from a psychological perspective and from a character study perspective, that's why I think, Crosshair is wanting to be part of the Empire. he's like, if you can't beat them, join them. Identify with the aggressor, which is the Empire. So, in some future episodes, I'll talk about some other defense mechanisms. And I have talked about defense mechanisms before. People can kind of scroll back and listen to some episodes and hear that. But I'll also finish up. I believe I have to do the last 2 pivots within ACT. I've done the first 4, and I believe I have 2 more to do. But we'll get those to people as well. So just know the Psychology Corner is alive and well, and just wanted to give you one tonight.
Perfect. Loved it. Thank you for bringing that back and sharing that with us. That is awesome. And, of course, if you want to give us any feedback on our episode or David's Psychology Corner, you can always reach us on any of our social media accounts. Facebook and Instagram are both at SW Reactions, Twitter, SW Reactions Pod. And of course, you can email us show at I was about to say coffee with Kenobi. I haven't done that in a long time. Carabast. You can email us show at StarWarsReactions.com. Love it. Awesome. David, if somebody wants to talk to you either about the Psychology Corner or about Star Wars or about anything, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely, buddy. First one's Twitter. It's David _Modders, MODDERS. All right. Instagram is just look up David Modders, my name. You got it. You're there. And the other one is what Aaron was mentioning. It's at our website. So it's David at StarWarsReactions.com.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. All right. So, of course, if you want to talk Star Wars with me, the best way to do that is Twitter at TAHarris121079, or of course email Aaron at StarWarsReactions.com. You can email me there as well. So, of course, to end everything today, we want to bring you this week's edition of Star Wars Dad Joke of the Week.
Now, let me preface this. Aaron, I don't ask Aaron to tell me the answer before, so this is my raw reaction. It's various groaning at the end of each episode because of how bad these jokes are, but it's in real time. I did not ask Aaron the answer to these, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to react with all of you.
No, I actually just put the joke part in there, and I leave the punchline out of it. So, so this week's Dad Joke of the Week is, what did Obi-Wan say at the rodeo?
I don't know. What did Obi-Wan say at the rodeo?
Use the horse, Luke.
Oh my!
Wah, 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 wah.
That is the worst one yet.
Oh, they get better.
Oh,
I got more of these than I can count, my friend.
Oh, these are brutal. That was brutal, dude. Use the horse, Luke.
Use the horse, Luke.
All right. I apologize to our listeners. I know. Oh, gosh.
All right. So with that, David, my friend, it's been a blast.
Oh, my gosh. It's fun. And hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Had a good time. Learned a little bit, laughed a little. Hopefully didn't cry.
I don't know about that. I'm just kidding. No. After that joke, everybody's weeping. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right. So, Dave, it's been awesome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are great. We appreciate each and every single one of you. And we pray for y'all and wish y'all the best. Thanks again for listening. This is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.